Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the TraderMerlin show for your Monday edition. I'm hoping that Kenny Tyler is right here. He says, I've heard from no one that the guest for the 1000th show will be Elon. Yeah, if you happen to know him, reach out to him. I don't know him, haven't reached out to him. I doubt he'll ever even come on this show, but it would be pretty kind of cool. Today's show, I'm just going to kind of go over high-level markets. There really wasn't much out there today. I did sell a couple of put options today, but no real big positions. I don't think anything I'm that excited about in the markets, at least for right now. Of course, we have a lot of news coming out this week, which will bring us to CPI and PPI, as well as the kickoff to earnings season on Friday. And as Big Eb's pointing out there, yeah, the song remains the same. This is one of my favorite Zeppelin songs as well, although, man, I can tell you probably 40 Zeppelin songs I would say are my favorite because there's so many great Led Zeppelin songs. But the reason I chose this is the markets just continue doing what they were doing. Russell, Dow going sideways, NASDAQ, S&P going up, and pretty much same story across the board. So we'll look at some of that here in just a minute. But I want to take a minute to talk about what happened, not what happened, it almost sounds like a detrimental bad thing, but the event that took place on Sunday. So we did, it was Todd Davis, Larry Jacobson, and myself, and Darren Komodo doing an event up in, Downey, California. And I don't usually do those events very often, but it's just so much fun to go out there and see people, do a meet and greet, put faces to names. Of Chio, for example, was here today, and she was in the event up in Downey, and it was kind of fun. Larry and I, obviously, we talk regularly, same with Todd, but it was just kind of nice to have everybody in that same room sharing ideas, concepts, and some of the students really brought up a lot of great questions. And one I thought was somewhat interesting was, how do you prepare for a Black Swan event? Which I probably could do a whole show altogether. And the reality is, the reason it's a Black Swan is you just don't know when a Black Swan event is going to hit you. It comes out of nowhere, and after the fact, you go, oh yeah, wow, I could have seen that coming. Well, you didn't. That's why it's a Black Swan. So thank you, Chio. Glad you enjoyed it. It was great to meet you as well. And others, I know we have several other people here who were up at that event. And I'm looking forward to doing more of those. They really haven't done a lot of kind of big events with students since COVID hit. And now that maybe that's changing. So hopefully we'll do more and more of those. So let me real briefly talk about the, preparing for a Black Swan. And maybe I'll do a much more in-depth show. My point at the end of all of it was, worrying about a Black Swan event is like worrying about an event that's just out of your control. And if it happens, it happens. Kind of like flying, right? I don't fear flying at all. I have a fear of being trapped in places I can't get out of. That's my anxiety pressure point. But I'm not worried about the door flying off an airplane. I'm not worried about an engine falling off. Those things can pretty much land without engines, right? So to me, that I'm not worried about that at all. But some people are terrified of airplanes because, the engine's going to fall off, or whatever the factor may be. The reality is, statistically, it's such an anomaly for that to happen, unless you're Boeing. We'll talk about that in a sec too. It's such an anomaly that you're just torturing yourself by worrying about it every single second. So with the Black Swan event, could it cause a 20, 30, 40% down move in the equity markets? Yeah, of course it could. But if you look at the spectrum of probabilities, 100% means guaranteed it's going to happen today, and 0% chance, meaning not possible it's going to happen today. We're somewhere most likely on the very far end of that spectrum towards the zero side. And maybe it's just a fraction of a percentage that a Black Swan event will start today and, propel these markets lower over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever the case may be. So while we can think about it and hypothesize about how we might interact with a down move market like that that's catastrophic, probably not going to happen right away. One of my guests that was on TraderMerlin or Power Trading Radio years ago, he said, if you really want to profit from it, you buy deep, deep, deep out of the money put options. And you go so far out of the money, those options are just pennies. They're worth nothing. But because the Black Swan event hits so significantly, once it really starts to sell off, then you can profit from those positions, even though it doesn't get to that price that you bought those puts at. And that's what happened to me back in 2020. I was very fortunate because a week or so, 2 weeks after I had that guest on the program, I analyzed the market and ended up buying a bunch of puts directionally so far out of the money, and probably the only time in my life that I literally caught the Black Swan event before it happened. And I don't think that will ever happen again. I was just absolutely lucky. So if you are worried about a Black Swan coming, and it will come, there's no question. I can guarantee, not allowed to make guarantees these days, but I can guarantee you at some point there will be a Black Swan. I don't know whether it's next week, next month, next year, next decade, next millennium. It will happen. Guarantee it, right? So if you're nervous about it, Darren talked a lot about, beta weighting your portfolio and making sure that you know exactly, how much protection to put on to hedge yourself in those situations. And that may be great for some of you. Others that are like me will probably just play that event as it comes. Unless you see something setting up that you feel might lead to a big market decline, then you could go buy deep out of the money put options. But don't worry about the Black Swan event. When it hits, we'll go, okay, and we'll just deal with it as it happens. It's just much easier than trying to predict it and fight it before it even happens. Another interesting question that came out was, what about this market here? The gentleman's name was Michael. I think he was from the Mastermind Group. And he goes, well, this market is just getting oversold and it looks like it's about to sell off. All right, look for a correction. And if you are a Trading Academy graduate, one of the fundamental principles is you're looking for supply zones or demand zones to use as a backstop for your trades, whether you're long or short. And the analysis there is looking for quality demand and supply zones. Well, my response to Michael was, let's zoom out here a little bit and go all time if you really want, but you guys know we're at all-time highs. We're prices we've never seen before. So to say that this market's going to come down because it's overextended is hogwash. There's no reason for it to come down until it does. And we can all point our fingers at something. I'm sure everybody here could say, well, I think these markets are going to go down for A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever you want it to be. Same side, many of you could look at this market and go, this market could go up for A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever reasons. But we can always come up with an argument for something to work one way or the other. But as you know, my mantra, and again, I have no tattoos, but if I were to get one, it might be this one. The trend is your friend until the bend at the end. And I mentioned to Michael, I said, look, you are trying to pick a top. And there's no supply level that the market has run into. There's no reason for it to sell off right now unless we get some really bad inflationary data on Thursday and Friday with CPI and PPI. So, this is a moment where you just have to stay long until this market gives you a clue otherwise. For me at this moment right now, the only real reason I would say to go short the S&P is if we drop down below this yellow box. If we got to close below, let's call it 5,500 on the S&P, then I would potentially start thinking about building a bigger short position. But at this point, you just got to set trailing stops and let it keep on running. I have in my career many times tried to pick that top and said, this market's got to go down. It cannot go up anymore. Well, BS. As we all know that quote from John Maynard Keynes, the markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent, and that's very true. So, don't short this market yet. Don't short it unless you really have strong conviction from the charts telling you to go short this. Otherwise, stay long until the market proves otherwise. So with that, I will show you a couple of the market pieces here and really tying into the song remains the same because nothing's really changed here. We have this breakout of consolidation. We talked about how when you have a consolidation period like this, it usually has an aggressive move. I'd say it's been a pretty strong move for the past 4 sessions here for the S&P 500. Margaret says, enter the perma bears. Well, they'll always be there. Deep down, I find myself being a perma bear, but I'm long. So, my belief is the market's going to go down, but I'm not going to put all my money there. Absolutely not. I sold puts today on XLE. I actually bought directionally on XLY today. Took a stab at that one. Let me just show you this real quick. So, normally my rule is I wait for this thing to open up after I see a shooting star formation. So XLY is consumer discretionary, meaning spend. Well, we finished today with a nice shooting star. Monday session with a nice shooting star. You can click on the volume. They're really, we look at volume. It's not a supportive piece because you had declining volume over the past 2 weeks. But we have a shooting star formation there on consumer discretionary. I did buy a directional put out of the money, expiring in August, 3rd week of August. So I've got some time on that one. I think it was like $2 or something. I'll have to pull up that one for you. But if we open up tomorrow above this line and start to break down below it, I'll build a bigger position in it. I was just kind of jumping the gun because I just feel like I have idle capital. It's not doing anything right now, and I want to put that to use. So that was one of the trades I made today based off this kind of reversal in intraday on consumer discretionary. Again, tomorrow, if you get an open above 188.87, and then it closes down, it moves down below that, there's a short opportunity there, which I will be watching that one as well. Hopefully it doesn't interact with my class that I have at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We'll see if I can maybe get a little trade on in the morning. All right, so that is your starting point here. I'm going to go back to the bottom and work our way up here with gold. We've talked about this quite a bit. you've just got channeling going on here in gold, so there's nothing really to worry about. I don't know why my yellow box disappeared, but I could have sworn we had a yellow box around this bad boy, which I will add one in here right now. And we'll go to those lower end of the range, which is right around 2,285. And I'm going to bring it all the way up to this peak at the top, which is, let me bring that, zoom out a little bit. That looks at what peak of that one. It's covering it up over here because this thing is driving me nuts. So I can't really figure out what that price is because it's not going to let me see it. Anyway, until we get out of that range, I don't really see a reason to worry about or think about gold at this point. This to me becomes a Tom Barr special, which is spreads. We've been in this range for over 2 months now. Let it just keep bouncing back and forth in that range and sell the spreads. Moving up, crude oil. Right, so you have crude oil rolling off that supply zone we talked about hitting between, I got your number on here on the screen, 83.81 and 84.46. We tapped in that one a couple times, and now you're getting follow through. My guess is we'll probably continue down towards that area where we broke out of, which is right around $81.50. So I do think you'll see a little bit more decline here in XLE. And yeah, I'm let me just show you XLE. So XLE, I sold some puts on today. My strike price for XLE was $88. So I've got a pretty close target. You know, it's only a couple percentage points away. We fell about 0.61 today on XLE on energy. So my target there is 88. And I am going counter trend here, right? I'm looking to buy this thing as it sells off into an area of demand. Grand scheme of things, I think we still are going to move up big picture, so that's why I'm okay owning XLE at 88. I think energy prices are going to continue to move up here. So there we go. More and more to the upside. So energy was your 7th place finisher. Bitcoin and crypto. From the futures perspective, you just see a lot of volatility out there today. Let me get rid of that line. This was a big topic of discussion at the event on Sunday. So we did an event. I was up there at 7 in Downey at 7 a.m. and then we worked with students until I think it was 5 o'clock, and then at 5:30 we did an event for masterminds till about 7. I ended up getting home rather late, so it's been a long day yesterday. But a lot of people really interested in crypto, digital assets, and kind of understanding what goes on there. And people kept asking me, where's Bitcoin going? I said, look, I can't tell you. I don't know where Bitcoin's going to go. I do believe it's going to go down further, at least for the next month or so, and then we'll stabilize near the tail end of this year, and then we should start to see that demand kick back in. I think one of the biggest catalysts is going to happen is going to be regulatory change, and I think that's actually going to be a positive thing. A lot of banks, I was talking to a gentleman who's got his Series 7, and he says, we're not even allowed to talk about Bitcoin and digital assets. And I said, why? He goes, they don't want to put people into that. Why? Because it's not regulated. It's still a Wild West type of piece. If we get regulation, we get the stamp of approval from the president on down, getting into our regulatory agencies like FINRA and the SEC and the CFTC, then all of a sudden this becomes a much more legitimate asset, and that's, I think, you're really looking at a much bigger push to the upside. Again, 250 is my target for November of next year, and I think that might even be a low estimate at this point. Your S&P was a weaker day. Wasn't that great? It was only up 0.07%, but it was higher nonetheless, continuing that little breakout trade we talk about or have been talking about. I did have this line drawn on here. That was a $15,000 target, I think, by the end of the year. So we'll leave that. I'm going to leave this little black line alone for now. Dollar index, 0.18%. Nothing to speak of here except it stopped. Right, it had been falling for about 8-9 sessions in a row on that dollar index, which you would think would be fueling this market rally to the upside, which I think it did. And today we had just a little bit of an upside move, 0.13%. So stalling out there, hesitating to slide just a little bit. I'm still of the belief system this is going to continue down. It just feels like momentum is drifting lower here on that dollar index, and that could get us back down to that yellow box demand zone that I drew months ago, which brings you down about 104.12 as the top end of that range for that box. Your 10-year, Big Eb, we still got a wager going on this bad boy. Again, we've got a few months to, about 6 months left till one of us will be declaring the victor and have a crown to prove it. 10-year was down 0.05% today at 4.28%. If you look at the trend since April, we're making lower lows, lower highs. So Big Eb might be onto something here at that below 4% by the end of the year. That was your bronze medal, your NASDAQ tipping the scales to the top side here. You have technology continuing to push this higher. Thanks NVIDIA. Thank you, Tesla. Another green day, 0.19% move to the upside for the NASDAQ. And again, that's why I wrote Song Remains the Same, because we've just had such a bullish run for quite some time here, and I don't think that that's going to stop anytime soon unless the data changes. We look at what's going to happen here on Thursday with consumer price index, and then Friday morning you have CPI numbers come out. Tremendous volatility. Not only that, but you also have JP Morgan, you have Wells Fargo and Citibank reporting earnings on Friday morning. That's the type of stuff that can derail a great bullish trend. Not saying it's going to. I'm saying there's the potential. It could also cause a melt up, as Jeff Manson would like to say. One of the main reasons being just eternal optimism, right? People feeling really bullish. We got great numbers coming out, and people feel that the more positive numbers we have with CPI, the more likely the Fed is going to cut rates, which would further jolt the markets to the upside. I just don't think they're going to do it yet. I think they're going to wait till the end of the year and like I say, get one rate cut, but they don't need to. They certainly don't. Our markets are doing great. Markets look really good right now. And then finally, your Russell 2000. Again, we've got two box ranges here. You have that peak between 2,150 all the way down to 1,900. Right, that's your red bars there, red lines. That's the bigger range. And then you have the yellow box, which feels like it's where it's starting to consolidate into right now. That's going to be between the parameters of 2,133 down to 1,990. Actually, let's raise that up just a hair. It shouldn't be 1990. It should be right. 1993. Right, those are your current levels for the Russell 2000. And from all intents and perspectives, to me, it looks like we're going to stay within that range right there. Let's see. Everybody, me for my black swan. Mike, it was good. I got to say, I like the Black Swan event question. I think it was it's not about taking long. I think I think it's the thoroughness of understanding a Black Swan event. I loved it. I thought it was a great question. We always have to think about those things because at some point we're gonna have to live through it. It's gonna come and hit us right in the teeth. The last one I did pretty good on was the 2020 pandemic one. I got really lucky with the pandemic one. Other than that, was I there for the flash crash one? I was there, but I didn't have a position built ahead of that announcement. It just kind of happened, and there I was. So I love the question, Mike. It was good to see you as well. Siebel says, do you think that at least one rate cut is already priced into this market? That's a great question, Steve. I don't know. It's really hard for me to step back objectively, look at a market that looks like this, and feel that the Fed has any reason to cut at all. Right? I don't see any reason. The only thing that could be bad here is we saw the unemployment numbers tick up to 4.1% on last Friday's reading. That's it. Name another piece of data that's like really bad and would warrant the Fed juicing the market. There isn't one. You could look at Empire State Manufacturing Index numbers. Those are getting better. Now, granted, they're right around 50, but they're getting better. The stock market's absolutely screaming to the upside and hasn't stopped since October of last year. I remember Big Eb going, I think the market's going to rally from here. And I was going, well, we're supposed to see it continue on down for another month or so. We're up 36% on the S&P from those October lows. All right, that was a monumental pop. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's priced in. I really don't. I think, well, let me rephrase that. Hold on. Let me take that back. I think that the price of the markets are expecting it to happen, which would say, yes, it's priced in. But I don't think Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve need to do anything. Realistically, they look at this market as it is now, and you've got everything looks rosy. All the data's looking fine. There's nothing that's catastrophic. You could argue that the inflation numbers are still a bit high. Let's go to, let me see if I can find this one. So Shadow Stats is a site that tracks what they believe the real inflation charts are, right? Well, here's Shadow Stats' version of it. Let's just see what we got here. All right, if you look at Shadow Stats and look at consumer inflation, right? This is Shadow Stats official going back in 1980. It's certainly dropped significantly, but they're saying, Shadow Stats is saying that it is roughly, a little over 4% right now. And then there's the alternate, they're saying they think it's right around 12%. I don't believe that inflation is that high right now, but again, I could be mistaken. You can dig into Shadow Stats and see what those changes are, what things they look at versus the market. Here is in red is the CPU official. You have experimental CPU, I don't know what that is, and then the Shadow Stats one. Shadow Stats shows significantly higher inflation. Normal right now we're looking at about almost 4% for CPI official. The Shadow Stats shows almost 8%. Now I don't know, I don't believe it's that high, but the trend is pretty obvious. We've seen it drop significantly. And if you look at the red chart up here on the top, let me see if I can zoom in on this for you. You look at that red line, if you go back into, let's say, 2002, 2003, we were up close to 4%. So we're getting back into a normal range. I don't think 2% is really needed to go that low. But if we got down to 3%, would be where my cursor is. That looks to be about average over the last 23, 24 years. Would be right around, let's say, 3%. So I think that's okay. I think that's a fine target to get 3%, but the Fed is still pushing for 2%. And again, we have those numbers coming out this Thursday is CPI, Friday will be PPI numbers. So I still think inflation is higher than normal, but it's not choking the economy. And I don't know if that's going to come to a head here soon, but I think the market looks fine at this point. LA with Trish, thanks. Yep, was glad to be there. Glad it could go. It was fun to go up there. The all-important black swans, the ones that cause recessions. Well, Andres, I disagree with that. I think all black swans are important because a black swan event creates opportunity. And our jobs, other than being a risk manager, is to find opportunity. And when we can get let's say a 20% decline in, let's say, 2 weeks, right? And just hypothetically, let's say these markets drop 20 or 30% in just a couple weeks. I'm going to go out there and look across the board and say, okay, what's taking a brunt of the action? What has been beaten up here the most? And then I'll look at those companies, make a list of them, and say, which one of these do I feel comfortable with owning long term? Do I think is going to survive this, swimmingly? To me, that's how I'll be looking at it, and there'll be some great long term opportunities here because typically, what you guys that knee jerk reaction in a black swan, you get that really sharp move down, and then all of a sudden it comes screaming back up. And picking those bottoms can be a bit stomach turning, but I think all black swans are opportunity, and we should embrace them. Honestly, I think we should be cheering for more black swan events. I know that they're maybe ulcer causing, but I just think they were opportunity. I think they look great. Steve says, "Don't you think at least one? Dang, I mean, why else would you be going up like this?" Optimism, man. I think people are just feeling much more positive about the U.S. I think money. You still have all that money that's been sitting on the sidelines now coming into the market. Until we remove a lot of that stuff we've created, I think it'll still continue to push this markets higher. Andre says, Biden's polls. That would be an interesting one. We talked about this as well at the event, and I'm not anti-Republican. I'm not anti-Democrat. I like components from each party, but I think you're going to see a change in the Democratic candidate. I just feel like poor Biden, I think he's past that point. So I think that will be a piece that we're going to really expect more volatility. Now, could that be a black swan event? I don't think so. I think it'll just create a lot of uncertainty in the markets because people just don't know who is going to be representing the Democrats at this point. I think as we get closer to November, you're going to see a shift. I have friends from both sides of the aisle, and particularly there's quite a few Democrats in my friend circle that are going, I can't vote for that guy. I'm like, well, you don't really have a choice if you're going to stick to your Democratic Party, and then you have to vote for Biden. I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't want to. I'm like, well, then what are you going to do about it? I think that the party has to make a different change here. Different puppet, same puppet master. I agree, John. Yep, I agree. I definitely think it's going to be the same basic thing. However, do we get someone younger with maybe some different ideal sets? I'd like to go back 20 years where the candidates actually respected each other and talked positively about each other as opposed to just nothing but attack and slam. It's very unbecoming of a president to do something like that. Food and energy aren't included. What else is there? Yeah, that's always been a funny one, Steve. That cracks me up. So you take core PCE. It's like, oh yeah, well here's the inflationary numbers, but we're going to strip out food and energy. What else is there? Rental prices, right? Shelter. That's would be a major component in the core CPE. Hey, Chris, good to see you. Mr. Collins. What did Tom say? Inflation typically doesn't include food and gas, which are up over 20.77% and 46% in the last 3 years. Yeah, well, it is included in CPI and PPI numbers, but they like to look at the core number, which takes out food and energy, which I think is just outright silly. You got the core PCE price index numbers, which the Fed is looking at. But, one of the big reasons I was thinking that inflation is going to continue to move up was if you look over here at crude oil, we've had this really nice jump up from, let's call this beginning of June. Oil rallied 16% in just 20 days. That's a pretty significant move up. And of course, that would impact the inflation number significantly. And maybe, maybe that is going to be reflected in this coming month's CPI number that happens on Friday. I could very easily pop our consumer price index numbers higher than expected. And then all of a sudden the market's kind of freak out a little bit again. So if anything, I think that the CPI numbers are going to miss this week, primarily because of what you see here. You had energy prices surge significantly and some other commodities as well, but really it's the energy prices that I'm focusing on. Yes, Big Ab. It's just transitory, yeah. Nothing to see here with inflation. Let's see. Big Ab says, I just got an Obama commercial asking for... Oh, wow, really? I wonder if I could block political ads on this show. I don't. There's nowhere for me to select what ads get played to you. I certainly would like to say I don't want these types of ads on my program, but it is what it is. I got to make those couple extra bucks, I guess. Steve says, also, if corn, wheat, soybeans is all getting really beaten up now, why food price is still high? Energy is the only thing still high. Remember, you have inflation, or you have wages have moved up as well. So those costs are certainly not going to be eaten by your Chipotle, your Taco Bells, etc. They're going to pass that on to you. So when we agree for wage hikes for employees, that's you and I paying for all that. That's not a government thing, or businesses certainly will not be eating those costs. Where was one else? I might have to do a video complaining on Panda Express. I got some honey walnut shrimp and they were kind of stingy on the Still one of the best deals in town you're going to get. You go to a restaurant, you're going to pay 4 or 5 times that much. Yes, John, only Victoria's Secret commercials. I'll even let a few Lululemon commercials fly in there along the way for everybody, just to spice things up. All right, so that's kind of the broader market pieces, and again, talking about some of my highlights from the event. It was so great to see so many of you. I love doing physical classes and actually getting to see people and shake their hands, etc. So I have news for this week. I feel like I'm letting you down by not doing a lot of shows, but tomorrow I had a vet appointment for the 24th for my shepherd at a specialist now, and there's an appointment that opened up at 1:30 tomorrow. So I am not doing a show tomorrow. I'm taking my shepherd to a specialist for skincare, and hopefully I get the skin issue resolved for my poor pup. And then Friday I will not be doing a show either because I'm on my way to Viva Las Vegas. I will be going to the Dead & Company, maybe some basketball games up there, but looking to have some fun in Las Vegas for the weekend. Chio. Well, we'll see if we can figure that one out. Yeah, Chio. One of the things that people need to understand with crypto is it doesn't operate like a traditional investment class. At the event, I was talking about scams, and I made it a point. No one asked the question. I just stopped and said, let me just get this out because people want to get involved in crypto, and I get it. But there's scams everywhere. Everywhere there's a scam. And when I mentioned the types of scams and what to avoid, I basically said, look, contact me before you send your money to anybody in the crypto space, to any brokerage firm, to any AI trading software company, to anybody that you send your crypto to. Just email me, all right? I'm not a financial advisor, but I can at least look at it and maybe help you and prevent you from losing your money. Just email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com, take some screenshots and say, hey, what do you think about this firm here? And I'll do a little bit of legwork for you. I'd much rather waste my time looking at that stuff for you than you losing your cryptocurrency to some scammer hacker out there that's going to try to steal your stuff. Oliver, this is a horrible statement. I would say there are more scams in crypto than there are legitimate projects. And to me, that really, that's disheartening. I actually talked to the FBI. A friend of mine's wife is an FBI agent, and we had a conversation about this as well. And she's like, it's just astounding. She goes, there's nothing we can do. She says, most of these companies that are the scammers are out of jurisdictions, foreign jurisdictions, some of them in Asia, some of them in Europe, that don't work with the United States. So they know that the U.S. is not going to, or that their country is not going to help the U.S. track them down and shut them down. So unfortunately, they're all over. Yeah, thanks, Big Ab. I appreciate that. I don't know. It hurts me to see how many people are losing money on these scams. And it's typically what's called the pig slaughter scam. We talked about that. But if you're sending it anywhere, so Chio has sent in the past crypto somewhere, and she can't remember where she sent it. And we can see the address, we can see where it went, but I don't know what that is. I don't know whose address that is. It could be anybody in the world's wallet, unless you know who that is, an exchange, a broker, or a wallet app. I can't retrieve that type of stuff. So you might, you might lose your cryptos. You got to be careful when you send your money to the wrong banking account, checking savings of somebody else. You'll get it back, no problem, easy peasy. You send your crypto to the wrong address, it's gone forever, unless that person is kind enough to send it back, but probably not going to happen. A special agent got you, Oliver. Was that the scammer or was it actually an agent? All right. Democrats should put someone in who sat in the wings as third in line. Experience. She recently jumped some Tesla. Oh, God, no. Oh, boy, that would be pretty funny. I don't even think the Democrats would be that dumb. I mean, who knows? Let's put Pelosi in there. Who knows? Do you think Bitcoin's recent fall is a harbinger for stock market correction? No, I think they're somewhat independent. I think the driving forces between Bitcoin and the equity markets there are some commonalities there, but there's definitely differences. Right now, the fall, I believe, is in anticipation of the Mt. Gox sell-off, right? The release of those Mt. Gox Bitcoin. Once that comes to market, you're going to have a lot of selling. I believe you have a lot of selling. And some people don't believe that, but I think, yeah. Oh, nice. Good for you, Oliver. Yeah, always look it up. And by the way, you guys realize that the Social Security Administration, the IRS, they're not going to contact you via phone. One thing that you can do just to protect yourself by a very simple step is if you have a Coinbase account or Kraken or Gemini, let me just tell you, this is one of the biggest scams that happens. If you have a Coinbase account, Coinbase has been hacked, but they didn't steal crypto. They stole the database of customers. So they now have your personal information. So they could call me up or they'd send me an email. And this has happened to many people here. I know several that this has happened to. They'll send you an email and it looks just like a Coinbase account. They change even the URL, so it's spoofing that as well. And then it says, hey, your account's been blocked for some unusual activity. Please contact us and we'll unfreeze your account. So you call up the help desk number and they're very nice, they're very cordial. And they know personal things about you because they've bought your list off the dark web. So they know my email, they know my phone number, they know my address. It's on the dark web. They can find that type of stuff. So they'll be like, oh, this is Merlin and the blah, 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 this address. I'm like, yep, And then you feel comfortable like, oh, this is legitimate. It's BS. If you ever receive an email from the Social Security Administration, from the IRS, from anybody, your bank, saying that your account's frozen and contact this number, call your bank directly from their website. Don't click on any links. So when you get that email from Coinbase, don't click that and call. You log into your Coinbase account and they'll give you an alert inside if there's any issues there. You'll know right away when you log into your account if there's a problem with your account being frozen. So never click those links. It's just so easy to fall victim to those types of spoofs and scam. Yeah, John, it's not even lazy mouse clicker. And it's not even naive. It's just you trust these entities. And while you might trust Coinbase, these people by the thousands have purchased that stolen database off the dark web. And they can do whatever they want with it. And they know they've got they can fool the vast majority of people because they have your name, your phone number. I don't know about Social Security number. I don't think they have that, but they have pertinent information that can spoof you and convince you otherwise. Always go direct to the source. If someone tells me that my Chase Bank has been frozen and halted, I'm going to log in through the app on my phone or go to their website directly and log in, or maybe even drive straight down to the bank and say, is there an issue with my account? And they'll say, no, everything's fine. So anyway. Oh, it's a birthday today, Julie. Thank you very much for that one. Oh, happy birthday, Big Eb. Hope you do. I wish I had the Beatles track right now, although I can't play it on YouTube because they will they'll censor it and flag me. But man, one of the greatest Beatles songs ever. 64 today. Goodness, old man up there. You're getting days close to that Social Security, buddy. Congratulations, my friend. Hope you have a fantastic... I'm sure you celebrated this weekend, did something fun, but on behalf of myself, and I'm pretty sure everybody here, thanks for being a part of this community. Happy birthday, and cheers to many more. I don't have I've got no cocktail. Maybe on Thursday I will cheers you with a glass because I won't be doing a show on Friday. But happy birthday, Big Ab. Hope you're doing something fun. And thank you, Julie, for sharing that precious piece of information with us today. I got a lot of those. Edie says I got a lot of those emails. Someone has hacked my email already twice, but the only thing that stopped them from stealing some of my crypto is two-factor authentication. Yes. So, this show kind of goes in different directions wherever you guys decide to take it generally. So, what I would highly encourage you to do is you should change your password on your email to something that is extremely complex. Your email is the gateway to so many things. I mentioned this before, but like when you buy a property, you're scanning documents, you scan your driver's license, you fill out the loan app with your social security numbers and all your work history. I mean, there's so much information in your email outbox or, your sent folders that it's a treasure trove. And if you're using, Merlin123 as your password, you're a fool. You should always use a very complex password for your email as well as two-factor authentication. Oh, Big Ab, just love it. You enjoy it. Oh, what I can't believe is you're actually watching this show on your birthday. That's great. So Martin Luther King says, use a password manager. You cannot do without it, especially if you're in crypto. So I have a friend who runs a very prominent tech company, and I asked him that question. I didn't bait the question. I said, how do you keep track of all your passwords? And he goes, I have a mental system that I use. And I said, do you use a password tracker like LastPass or KeepKey or Bitwarden? And he goes, absolutely not. And I was kind of shook by that because I use a password manager. I use LastPass. And he says, you have one point of failure. He goes, if someone were to crack their code, then all of that stuff of yours is their information. So I'm with you, Martin. I think it's okay, but there is that possibility that hackers get into LastPass and somehow get past their encryption, and now they have access to all my accounts and everything. That's kind of scary to do. So, what you could do is you could have some kind of formula that you use, like the first three letters of the website. So let's say it's Chase. So they would say your password now, CHA, and then my last name, all lowercase. So it would be CHA, first three letters, Rothfeld, my favorite number, and then exclamation point, and then something else. And you have this pattern that you use for every different site you go to. That could work, but I'll be honest, I looked at my LastPass, I've got like 300 different passwords. I can't even remember phone numbers of people I meet, let alone, 300 different passwords. So I'm with you, Martin. I personally like, I wouldn't store my password. So what would you use? Which one did you use, Martin? Just curious. Eddie says, I have a random password generator, but you won't believe it how it stole my email. It was by stealing my phone number from my SIM card. Yep, and that's how they got to text. So yeah, it's called a SIM spoof. Or SIM swap. They can actually call up the phone companies now and request that your SIM be switched over to something else if they have your phone number and a code. Yeah, that's another one. That's another way they get you. Man, it's tough. Everything seems to be a scam these days. So you just gotta, spend a little bit of extra time and effort to protect yourself and get these, two-factor authentication, etc. KeyPass, huh? I'll check that one out because I know that LastPass was hacked, but they didn't get the root level stuff. They got some user information, but not all the accounts and passwords. So let's go KeePass, huh? I'll check that one out. I'm open to new ones. I just have to remove everything over and over and over again, and that's just kind of nice. It's safe to write them down in a notebook. Andres, you say it's safer to write them down in a notebook, but what happens if your notebook gets stolen? What happens if your house gets broken into and someone, or you spill water all over your notebook and now all of a sudden all your passwords are gone? So Lockbox works? Okay. KeyPass is great. It stores on your phone or a local PC. Okay. I'll look more into those, but I definitely think a password manager is great. Your information is a commodity, a big commodity now. And God, just watching the number. There were 5 people at that event last night that had been scammed and lost their crypto. And I appreciate that you guys shared that with me. A lot of people are just embarrassed that it happens. Well, hopefully it's not with a lot of money. I have other friends that have lost massive amounts of money that make your stomach turn in these types of scams, and I wish I could prevent it from happening. Like I say, feel free to email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com and just say, hey, I'm looking to use this firm or this account or this wallet. What do you think? And again, I'm not guaranteeing that it's not a scam, but I can certainly maybe bring up some red flags to your attention if I see anything out there. I'm just like, use the word password. Perfect, yeah. And no, don't use any characters, just the word password. Yeah, that's good luck with that one. Mike, your stuff's private for about 30 seconds. It's probably the first thing that a password hacker is going to look for. It's going to go password and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, a couple of numbers, and then just go from there. But yeah, password would be probably the easiest one to hack. All right, let me look at what's going on tomorrow. If you guys have some questions, type them in, and I will get to those. Oh, actually, no, hold on. Let's talk about a question that came through. I don't have my templates up anymore, so I don't have my question mark page. I'm trying to find a replacement for that and build it out for you. One of the questions was, which company do I think will be the first to 4 trillion? That's a great question. There's a lot of factors to it. I thought about actually doing a special show and breaking down the numbers behind each one. Maybe I will do that, but right now your contenders are going to be obviously Microsoft, Apple, and NVIDIA. So let's do this. Hold on a second, since I got some time. Let's start a poll. Ask the question. The $4 trillion. Sorry for the it's all over the place here, but we'll go NVIDIA. Man, there's NVIDIA's on that list. We're gonna put Microsoft on here. We'll put Apple on there, and other. If you select other, then type it in the chat. But there's your poll popping up right now. Which company will be at $4 trillion market cap first? I've got NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Apple. And if you put other, just type it in the chat. And again, I really don't think that there is a wrong answer. It's all speculative. And when I let this one go through, I'll give you my 2 cents on it. I think it really depends by time. I think that you could see the first $4 trillion company by the end of the year, probably by December, and that's wrong. I'm sticking to it. Let's see. What do we see? Big Eb says Microsoft, in my opinion. Okay. What is Margaret? I am hot is my only password. Use it for everything. What factors, Big Eb, are the pieces driving Microsoft that you think is going to catapult them? Because it's not, we can say this is going to be the one, but why? So, for example, when I look at NVIDIA, everyone can cite the AI. It's just the mass coming to market of these chips that everyone wants. And that may already be factored in its current run. I don't think NVIDIA gets that $4 trillion mark first. Microsoft certainly has the product depth and diversification to make it happen by new products and services popping up and the implementation of AI. But for me, where I think the company I think will get there, and it's a company I hate, is just Apple. And I think that Apple will get there just because of their new 16 phone. I think with that new 16 phone, with the AI, Apple is going to show some really cool things you can only get with that new 16 phone. And I'm pretty sure that the price of that phone just went up because they know demand's going to be off the charts. I was reading an article that said that there's 270 million iPhones that have not upgraded to the 15 and they're due for an upgrade. It's like, oh man. So I think I would actually say Apple would be my guess on that one. I'm going to let the poll go for a little bit more. Chio says, how about Amazon or Tesla? Tesla could certainly be there, but remember, Tesla, if I'm not mistaken, is only $800 billion right now. So let's not worry about Tesla getting to $4 trillion. Let's let Tesla get to $1 trillion first, right? We're not even there yet. Let's go look at FinViz and see if I can find it for you, just so we can see the numbers. And by the way, the iPhone is releasing in September. That's why I think by the end of the year, you could see a pretty significant pop. I am not allowed to trade. I'm not allowed to trade Apple. So unfortunately, I can't participate in that one. It's part of my cornerstone of my trade plan. But you've got Apple is already at round up to 3.5 trillion. Microsoft's at 3.46 trillion, and NVIDIA fell back a little bit at 3.15. So I think that adding $500 billion worth of market cap to Apple with the release of that new phone, I don't think that's any stretch of the imagination. So I think they'll get there first. but I think there will be some companies that could potentially pass them. Let's see. If the new Apple phone cleans house, and it'll consider changing over to an iPhone. Wouldn't that be great? You just put your phone down and it just starts vacuuming. Microsoft says, Big Ed says, large, well-run company that has room to grow. I have a lot of NVIDIA, though. I do hope you're correct. Microsoft has more solid revenue stream. Correct. In multiples, right? You have so many different revenue streams for Microsoft, whether you're talking, ad revenues from its browsers, from the AI implementation, from its Office suite, from its operating system. I think you're right. They have more solid, steady, consistent income streams. And the price of Microsoft, man, it's a thing of beauty. MSFT, I mean, that is a absolutely stunning chart. I mean, if you go back just to October of last, so the market itself, we talked about that earlier, 39%, I believe, for the S&P. You look at something like Microsoft is up 118%. Going back, well, that's actually 2 years. This goes back to October of 2022. Let's look at that same apples to oranges discussion, which is from kind of those October lows. Microsoft's up about 51%. So all in all, Microsoft, I think, is certainly on that list. We're close enough with it right now. It could be anybody's guess, but I think that the capital infusion will happen at the tail end of this year for Apple. So I think Apple gets to $4 trillion first, but Microsoft could certainly continue to push higher and higher. And again, remember, if this iPhone 16 flops, that could be a big down move for Apple. So it could go either way. I was thinking, what's the big problem that Apple had in the past with some of their iPhone releases in like 2022, 2021 was supply chain disruption and COVID, right? Some of the factories were shutting down. Foxconn had issues and they were closing down because of COVID. We don't have those disruptions anymore, at least not the extent they were back in the last 4 years. It's gotten better and better and better. So at least from a production standpoint, they'll have enough iPhone 16s, whether it's the Plus, the Max, the Super, the Jumbo, whichever version, they'll have plenty of those out for everybody to utilize. All right, let's go look at your earnings calendar. I'm doing something different today. I got invited to go play golf today. I don't play golf, not really my thing, but I'm going to golf at 4 o'clock today, so got to go get ready. I'm going to come back and have thrown my back out. So I won't be here tomorrow, but on Wednesday I'll probably have thrown my back out and be in a wheelchair because I tweaked my back on the golf course tonight. Here's what we have cooking for mañana. There's nothing for today. Remember, Jerome Powell is speaking tomorrow. That is an important one. That's going to be at 7 a.m. I don't know why my clock is still wrong here. This looks like 7 a.m. Pacific, so that's 30 minutes into the trading session. This is congressional testimony. This is a good one. This is where not only he's going to read the same thing, right? He'll read the same basic statement. Our economy is performing well. We're still concerned with inflation running at about 3+%. They'll go through the same thing we just heard at the FOMC meeting. Then the senators get to grill him. That's where you get a lot of anger and consternation and hatred and finger pointing, and that's fun. I like that part the best. Yep, I'm going to try my best. I'll try to go long and straight. That's right, Chio. Hit that like button. Other than that, there's not really much coming out for the U.S. tomorrow. You can see you have just FOMC member Barr will be speaking. You got Secretary Yellen will be speaking. Bowman speaks, but really it's all about Powell at 7 a.m. So prepare for moves 30 minutes into the trading day. It could be very volatile. You might want to just log in and watch it as well. It's always entertaining to watch. And then you have a rate announcement happening for New Zealand, which is going to happen later in the evening at right around 7 p.m. That's 5.5%. The earnings calendar, you've got nothing on the calendar for tomorrow. Nothing that's important anyway. You have Helen of Troy and really nothing. Again, it all really starts on Friday's session with the banks and financials kicking off earnings season. So that's going to do it for me. Show 943. I trust that you'll be... Oh, let me just do the poll here. End the poll. So most of you, it looks like we're picking NVIDIA as the winner there. 48% of you said NVIDIA will get to a $4 trillion market cap first. Microsoft second. Apple, only 6% of you. All right. Well, I'm in the skinny camp, the small selection of only 6% thinking AI wins again. Yeah, well, we'll see. I think AI is going to stall a little bit. It's had a big run. It'll probably slow down and then have another rally up. But I just don't think it pushes NVIDIA to the $4 trillion before Apple gets there. You've got September. It's right around the corner. It's a few months out, going to the holiday season. Consumer discretionary spending is just surging. People will be buying that in the iPhone, and $500 billion is going to pour into to Apple, and we're going to get it. All right, so I trust that we will get Kenny to reach out to Elon Musk and get him on this program for the 1,000 show. I mean, that's going to happen in here in another couple of months. Let's see. I think I do like 22 or 23 shows a month. So we've got about another 3 months. We'll get Elon Musk on here for that 1,000th show. Should be a fun one. That said, again, no show for tomorrow. I will be doing, I'll be at the vet, and then Friday I will be in Las Vegas. So you're going to have a limited week again this week. Sorry for that, but we'll do a show Wednesday, Thursday. If you have questions, not only with trading and investing, but if you're concerned about your crypto and you think you might be involved in a scam, you can always email me as well. TraderMerlin@gmail.com, and I'll let you know what I think about that one. And it might take me a day or two because I'm fumbling doing so many different things right now, but I will do my best to get back to you as quickly as possible. So, Thomas, I was just wondering what you were planning. I haven't planned anything. I got nothing planned. I have a feeling it's going to be a regular old day for me, so I apologize. You're going to be like, we wanted something special. Maybe. I'll see if I can do something, but I got to calm down and like get some of these things off my plate because I'm just overwhelmed with all that's going on in my world right now. But we'll do our best to do something fun that day. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic remainder of your day. I will see you guys on Wednesday. Take care.